And that's, yeah, so I would agree with that.
Right. So then, how do you how do you respond to the accusations of like racism within the Tea Party?
Frankly, it's horseshit.
Okay.
You know, I'll spare no discrepancies on that. I have people that look like everyone, all walks come to my meetings, black, white, Asian. I'm Jewish, so some racist that I am, right? You know, every walk of people. I mean, you were there at our meeting. Did it look like a whole bunch of angry old white men to you?
No.
You know, it looks like the general population. It looks like the people. Because these principles aren't limited to just one particular racial group, and I think a lot of trying to pin it as racist is pure demagoguery, and it's a giant red herring to try and divert attention away from what the other side is actually doing, which is a steady and systematic attempt to take greater and greater control of our lives through starting through our wallets and extending them to every aspect of society, whether from the DMV to the doctor's office, and they're trying to divert attention away from that agenda by calling us racist, saying that because we feel that compassion is a personal responsibility rather than a government one, that somehow or another that makes us racists. And I think it's all just a big attempt by them to distract away from the core issue, which is how they're eroding our freedoms.
So, do you think the media has played a big role in like slandering Tea Party then?
Oh yeah, no, they hate it.
Yeah.
Because for one thing, they can't predict it.
Right.
The media has gotten complacent. They're so used to campaigns and everyone else, political movements, spoon-feeding them the news. I mean, I have a publicist on my campaign now, and she puts out press releases, and I look at what goes into the actual article versus what she had in the press release, and very little has changed. It's a push model of media, and the Tea Parties aren't that. The Tea Parties are unpredictable. They're fragmented, and there's this energy to them. They can't really pin their tail on to one particular group or another. They don't know, and that upsets them. Obviously, the left, the media tends to lean left to a large extent, at least, outside of, say, Fox News. And that's been very frustrating for them, MSNBC and CNN and CNBC and all these channels. You look at this and well, it's rabble, and we're not used to dealing with just such pure energy saying stop. So I think the media has played a lot of
Yeah. I'm sure you're aware that about Rand Paul's victory in Kentucky.
Right. Oh yeah, that was great.
Right. So what's your opinion on that?
I think that's so there's a couple of things that go into that. Primarily, it is a huge victory because Ron Paul has proven, like him or not, he is an unapologetic defender of the Constitution. He is a unapologetic antagonist of progressive policies. And I think that his son will do the same thing in the Senate. And the fact that he got won in the primary against an establishment-backed candidate says that people are tired of the same old nonsense. They want somebody who's going to go to Washington and shake things up, or go to Sacramento and shake things up. They want candidates that aren't going to say what's politically expedient to get into office. They're actually going to tell them what they feel is right and not apologize for it. That's what Rand Paul represents to me. There's another candidate named Peter Schiff who's running in Connecticut And he's another Paul acolyte. He was actually Ron Paul's economic advisor in the 2008 campaign. And we'll see if Peter can actually beat Lyndon McMahon, who's looking to be the favorite to get out of that primary. That's not until August, though. Here in California, a number of people have tried to claim themselves as the two-party candidate, but it hasn't quite worked out that way. And so, like, for example, Chuck DeVore likes to say, oh, I'm the Tea Party candidate, this, that, and the other thing. And to a certain extent, that's true in the sense that he went to every Tea Party when they were first starting and talked about it, but he himself wasn't one of the originators. So, whereas I think Ron Paul, a lot of what this movement is about is kind of exemplified in his writings and his speeches and stuff like that, which is return to constitutional government.
So, yes, one of our last questions is, where do you envision the Tea Party in the future? What role do you think they'll play?
I think it's going to be a conservative anchor on the political spectrum from now on. It's going to be pulling politicians back to limited government, back to fiscal responsibility, back to the Constitution. And I've heard cases, people say, oh, well, they're only playing in Republican politics. Well, that's not true. We have there's a candidate who's running against Pete Stark in the primary up in San Francisco, who's a conservative Democrat, and the Tea Party up there is supporting him because Stark is just so terrible. He's literally a demagogue. And in the same vein as Nancy Pelosi's a demagogue. I think that they're going to play in both parties to a certain extent. You saw that anti-establishment anger with C-Stack knocking off Specter and
Right.
the fact that Blanche Lincoln's now having to go to a primary or to a runoff in June in Arkansas because she couldn't get a plurality or a majority of the vote. All these things play into it. And I think that the Tea Parties are here to stay for the most part. We're going to see a very interesting shift in the Republican Party as the old guard kind of gets, the country club of Republicans kind of get pushed to the wayside, and the new people that are more coming from a libertarian Tea Party type of focus move into leadership positions, which is going to take several years for this to play out. It's somewhat akin to what you saw in the 90s with the Democratic Party, where the Democratic Leadership Council, which was led by people like Jane Harman and Bill Clinton and such, came to power and kind of got rid of the old McGovernites, who had a very progressive view, and kind of the keystone moment in that was the defeat of Hillary here in 1993. Which led to basically Bill Clinton making a stark move to the right, and kind of the blue dog Democrats working with the Republicans to force fiscal conservatism through Graham Bregman and a number of other measures in Congress, which basically kept the budget balanced for 10 years and led to the greatest period of economic expansion in this country in history. So that's kind of what I think we may see here, is that while things look really bleak here now, I think as we kind of purge the older elements of the Republican Party that are, kind of, for lack of a better description, big government Republicans, what can government do for me to advance me, versus what is the true role of government, what are those principles that are not compromising or that are violent. You're going to see a real shift in the character of the Republican Party. You're going to see more candidates like Rand Paul coming into focus. Another example of this is Sharon Engel in Nevada. Another example of this is Connie Medina tried to pin herself in this way in Texas, and it didn't work out that way as planned because she wasn't really a Tea Party candidate. They just tried to pin the tail on it, but I think, as people like myself, who were founders of those two parties, feel compelled to seek political office,